What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel. You're watching Miguel EDC, the channel where we talk everything EDC gear here. And today we're checking out the Kizer Dogfish, right? This knife right here. Not to be confused with the catfish, and I really need to stop making that joke because it's getting pretty old by now. But the Dogfish right here, right? Excellent knife from Kizer. I'm gonna be sharing with you guys everything you need to know about this knife, the good, the bad, the ugly. But spoiler alert, mostly all great things about this knife. And I'm just gonna say this right off the bat with the video. I love this one. really love this one, and you're gonna see why here in just a moment. First things first, I want to give a shout out to Kevin, aka Lefty EDC, for the opportunity to check this one out, right? Definitely appreciate that. And check out his channel if you haven't already. Follow him on Instagram and here on YouTube, Lefty EDC. And of course, the second thing is the fact that these knives, this knife and any other knife you see in the video, will be linked down below in the description. So if you want to check out prices, details, anything about these knives, they will be linked down below. Also in the pinned comment as well. Of course, it does help out the channel when you use those links if you end up purchasing a knife through the links, but that is entirely up to you and at absolutely no extra cost. With that being said, guys, let's get things started here because there's quite a lot to unpack about this knife. Let's get things started here with the typical, what do we have here, the measurement, right? 7.5 inches pretty much, maybe a hair under 7.5. Your blade length is about 3.1, 3.15, with the cutting edge being about 3 inches on the money right there, and 4.25, yeah, 4.25 on the handle right there. Those are your measurements. Let's do the Kizer Sparrow here with the premium materials. That one has S35VN and titanium handles, and here we have another button lock from Kizer, and that is the KUH, right? That that is the Kizer KUH right here. What an interesting name, to say the least. Reviews on both of these are coming up, by the way, both the KUH and the Sparrow, right? So definitely be on the lookout for those. This will be a great time to subscribe to the channel, guys. If you are new and you enjoy knife content like this on an ongoing basis, what are you doing? Why are you not subscribed? I got a secret for you guys. It is free, okay? It is absolutely free. Anyways, whispering aside, yes, go ahead and join the Miguel EDC squad right there so you don't miss out on new knife content coming out your way. But let's talk the action. You see me fidgeting with this thing. We haven't even talked about the action. Well, guess what? You could probably already guess from the unboxing video if you haven't seen it already. Action on this thing is money every single time. You got the flipper back here, which, whoops, right? It's actually pretty easy to use. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, very reliable back flipper there. We have the button itself, which is nice to actuate. No button stick or anything like that on this one. We have the front flipper, boom, which is really good. You could money flip this thing every single time. And then we have the opening right here, which you can use to reverse flick, probably my favorite, boom, and the thumb deployment as well. All right. All our money. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different deployment options. That is my kind of EDC knife right there. I love me a good fidgety EDC knife. But guess what? This one has the materials, right, and the performance to back it up. I'm just gonna say this right now. This thing is extremely sharp. It is a great performer. You'll see that later on in the video during the paper and cardboard cutting test. Very scientific test, by the way. I know. Yes, that is what we do in this channel, and you'll see this thing in action. But as far as materials, we have 154 cm on the steel right here, which is great steel, a step above D2, 14C, 28N, and a Nitro V. This one is coated, and you know, for a lot of people, it's a love it or hate it type of deal. I'm not sure if they offer the Dogfish in a different finish, right? I'll have to check the website and I'll, you know, kind of pin it in the comments or what have you. But every single version that I've seen has been with the black coat, which me personally, I can, you know, I don't dislike it, right? But it's not my favorite finish, if you would, right? I can appreciate it. I like what it brings to the table, but it is not my favorite finish, to say the least. I don't dislike it, but it's not my, you know, top finish, if you will. So a nice bell satin finish would have looked savage here. Just a satin finish, period, right? We were seeing the satin finish on the Task, by the way, which is solid. Check out the review on that one if you haven't already. Check out the Cryptid, right? Satin finish on these are are wonderful. Review on this one should be available in the channel as well if you haven't already checked that out. So we know Kizer does a really good satin finish, so I'm not sure, maybe in the future, Kizer, if you don't already offer it, and I'm over here talking crap, but if you don't already offer, that would be something to look into for more people out there who are not, you know, maybe into black blades. But it is coated, it is going to offer some corrosion resistant versus, you know, an exposed blade, but 154 cm is pretty good on that department. By the way, it is a flat grind going on, and let me not forget the Dogfish is actually designed by this gentleman right here, Caleb Waldman, right? Not very familiar with his work, but if all his work is anything like what he did here with the Dogfish, then yes, definitely worth checking into, because this one is a solid one. Really good. I really love the design. It grew on me very quickly. What would you consider this, right? Sort of like a drop point for sure. Would you count this as a harpoon, maybe, right? You call it a black coated harpoon drop point. We can go with that. Or otherwise, get the blade police out here, because apparently reverse tanto and sheep's foot, those two are going head to head, and we got to settle it. Let me know in the comments. But anyways, moving on to the handle, we have aluminum, right? Which is, or aluminium, depending on where in the world you are watching this video from. But aluminum handles, and they're not just plain aluminum handles, these are milled, right? Gotta love the fact they took the time to do the circular design right here. If you know me, I am a sucker for patterns on a knife handle. They did a really killer job on this one. The circle star right here, they sort of open up a little wider towards the back. And pay attention to the detail here, because they have basically a filler tab right here for the pocket clip, which is reversible, right? More to come on the pocket clip in a second. But yeah, even the filler tab has the same lines going on for that continuous pattern. So gotta definitely give it to them for going the extra mile to do that. It is nice and contour all around, which I love. Adds to the ergonomics. It just makes it very elegant and comfortable to hold. By the way, ergonomically speaking, right, if I do the standard grip with this curve over here for the index finger, right, I have plenty of room for my all four fingers. I have medium hands, not the biggest, not the smallest. The hammer grip right here is good, can make it work, no issues. If I want to forward choke, I can, right? It's not the most rounded off forward choke, if you will, but it is functional. And I feel like this section right here, which is jimped, by the way, on the spine of the blade, works perfectly, right? Like where the harpoon starts that I was talking about earlier, boom, that is perfect for your thumb right there. All day, every day, get some control cuts going on like that, whether you are sharpening a pencil or slicing an orange or cutting, whatever it is you need to do for your EDC task, this thing got you covered. Boom, you're lock and loaded right there. Very good way. You know, the jimping helps, the pattern on the handle helps, and it feels good. Pocket clip is just basically a nice straight line. It's not rounded, but there is a little bit of contouring to it, if you will. It's just a straight line. It does go about maybe 50% of the handle itself, so any longer than this would have been maybe thrown me off a little bit, but it's just, I guess, the right amount. It does go in the pocket, in and out of the pocket pretty easily. You do have the pattern here, which, you know, might fight your jeans a bit, but nothing too crazy. And it is decently deep carry, right? Decently deep carry here. About this much of the knife will show, which is not too bad. Okay, and it is reversible, so lefties rejoice, because after all, this is an ambidextrous knife. Okay, see, you can see as I'm demonstrating it here with my very untrained left hand, and I'm just making it work. So obviously a difference here, if you're a lefty, is that you would use your index finger to activate the button instead of your thumb. That's the only thing. Everything else is pretty much the same. So great that they thought about lefties this day and age, right? If you're gonna make an ambidextrous locking system or mechanism, right, give us that pocket clip. And I love the solution that they did here, going the extra mile, right, paying attention to detail. We do have a back spacer right here, matching aluminum, which is nice, looks good. Let's do a blade stock thickness on this bad boy here. It is coming in at 0.12, right, pretty average. Most knives that I put under this camera lens are around that 0.12 inches. And that's on the blade stock thickness. Of course, on the handle, we have 0.48, right, which is also pretty average from what I see in the channel here. Typically around 0.5, which 0.48 is very close to. Half an inch is pretty close to what I see average on all the knives that I check out, which is a good amount of girth, good amount of thickness to a knife handle, right, in my opinion. So they do a good job there. It's a benchmark. I guess that half inch is good. Also pretty lightweight. I want to say this knife is not extremely heavy or extremely light. The aluminum certainly helps. Do we have milling going on? Yes, we do. Check out the circles on this side and some ovals on the other side. Right, that's interesting. And I want to say maybe 3.5. My very inaccurate hand scale. Let's see how we do. Gotta give me some credit. Gotta give me some credit. Look at that. 3.4, right? I was off by 0.1, but man, yeah, it definitely feels pretty nice. Definitely feels pretty nice and a good weight to it. Not the heaviest, not the lightest of knives, and it just feels good, right? Gives you a good sense of quality, good sense of, you know, not like you have an FRN or, you know, very lightweight knife, but also not extremely heavy where it's going to be an issue carrying it every day. So love what they did here. It's sort of like a spiral, right? Upon closer looking at it, yeah, it sort of spirals around, right? If you follow the lines, and they just carry that, you know, that looks beautiful. It looks really good. I wonder if they make a version of this knife in titanium. I feel like if they did a titanium version with S90V or N390 or 20CV and the same mill titaniums with a nice bell satin finish or bee-blasted blade, I mean, this thing will be a W for sure, right? W for sure. So the jimping goes all the way around, even from the back flipper tab here all the way around, which is interesting, nice, right? As long as you just run your finger down from this section here, you're not gonna miss it, right? So that is that. The front flipper is good. You can get it to work every single time. So yeah, the action on this, if I haven't already said that, is really, really good. I did notice there is an internal stop pin. So the stop pin is going to be internal. The plunge itself, all that's happening internally too. So that is pretty interesting. You can't see the plunge grind from this angle. I mean, I guess you sort of could from here in a way, but that is all happening internally. Just, you know, kind of elegant. Definitely a little different than your other button lock knives. All right, and good tension. I believe there's a spring that pushes that plunge up every time the blade fully closes or opens. And yeah, there's no button stick here of any kind. And the action is just really, really smooth. Those ball bearings are very, very good. Great action, very, very smooth. Love the fact that it has multiple deployment options. Love the fact that it has great ergonomics, amazing action, super fidgety. The reversible clip with the filler tab we already talked about. This is just an absolute win from Kizer. Absolute win from Kizer. Solid on the lockup. Almost forgot to mention that I tested this earlier before the video started. No up and down, no side to side. So lockup on this is really, really good. Let's just do a quick hardware check on this one before I forget. What are we even looking at? Because check out how flush this is. No screws on this side. I mean, obviously you got the pivot screw, which should have been a captive one if you ask me. But I want to say that's a T8. Let's see. Yeah, anything smaller than T8 on the pivot will not be acceptable. And then the pocket clip is the only other screw. So talk about a very flush design. And that's also a T8, by the way. So this screw obviously goes all the way through to the other end, holding this filler tab in place. And what, I mean, what an elegant way to put together a knife, right? What an elegant way to put a knife together, really. So yeah, other companies take note. You don't have to put a bajillion screws on your knives. This is just, wow. I can sort of see a little something right there in between the back spacer right there going from one side to the other. Yeah, what an elegant way to get everything solid, robust, built together without any sort of need for additional screws. Now, there are steel liners on the inside, if I didn't already mention that. So we have aluminum scales and the liners, or black, in the inside. So I would do the spine test on this one, but it is not my knife. So let me just start with that. If it were my own knife, I would test it, right? Because it is a button lock. Typically, button locks, out of all the locking mechanisms, it's probably the one to fail, if anything. That's the trend that we have been noticing in the knife community. So most YouTubers check or do a spine whack test where they check to see if it will fail. Now, this is not my knife, but you can, I did check Metal Complex's video. He did test it and it passed with flying colors. So that's a good sign. I believe Lefty EDC tried it as well and it works. So why is there a need for me to do additional testing if we already know that it works? And yeah, pretty good. I want to say again, in order to get to that button, you really have to go out of your way to even push it. And at that point, you see, at that point, you're just intentionally doing it. Like the way your tendons work and all that, like I'm bending my index finger beyond its natural point, I guess, just to make this happen. So in a day-to-day scenario, if I'm gripping here, like I'm not even, like I'm kind of close, but again, it just takes so much. And then the button has to be pushed basically all the way in order for it to disengage. So that's something else as well to keep in mind. So solid knife. Really don't have much to say. I sort of want to nitpick and say, you know, oh, there's this, there's that, but really not a lot to nitpick on this one. They got the big hardware, they nailed the action, the values here. By the way, did I mention this knife comes in at $99? $99, right? So typically, you know, around $75 to $80, $85, you'll get a similar knife with great action, but it would have something like micarta, just like the Task, just like the Cryptid, right? Here you have aluminum scales. Typically, if you go aftermarket for aluminum scales, you're paying a pretty penny. So here you're getting them by default. So it makes sense, right? It's under $100. You're at the crossroads where, you know, if you could spend less money for a more budget knife, but you'll get, you know, probably micarta or G10, or maybe you could spend more money, but you know, get titanium or something. But if you are okay with aluminum handles, which I am, and I don't see why most people wouldn't, this thing, the way it's milled, how elegant it looks, filler tab, minimal hardware throughout, great ergonomic knife with great action, highly recommendable knife. I believe this one is a huge W for Kizer, and I feel like all other YouTubers that I've checked out that have made content on this knife also echo that same feeling as well. So great knife, great for EDC as well, right? Great for you to take it out of your pocket, whip out that blade, do what you need to do, and immediately back into the pocket. That is a great knife right there, and it is really sharp. So let's do a quick cutting test on this one here, shall we? Let's see how it does. And I'm just doing some slices here right off the bat, and you can see them swirls tell you everything you need to know. Now this one's not sharp out of the box. It has certainly been seeing some use as part of Lefty EDC's knife pass around. So let's just check to see how much of an edge it has retained. Oh yes. Oh yeah, this thing is going to cut, you guys. Check that out. This one does have a little bit of belly here towards the front. That is something to keep in mind right there. So unlike a Warncliffe or sheep's foot, you could slide out of a cut if you don't, you know, have control over it. Okay, so if I start the cut way too far back here, let me see. Oh, actually, well, I'm not sure why. I mean, it's, as long as it bites really good the first time around, you are good to go. And I mean, for EDC Task, this thing is plenty sharp. All right, what about some cardboard? Let's do that. I have some everyday pull-ups, diaper box, single wall cardboard going on here. All right, let's test it out. Keep in mind when cutting cardboard, don't cut perpendicular, but rather at an angle like that. And the beginning portion, let me just flip it. Yeah, there we go. The beginning portion is going to be single wall. Towards the end, there's a bit of a second wall right there. So let's see how it does. Here we go. All right, here we go. It cuts pretty good. Single wall, obviously there's more friction towards the dual wall section. It still handles that with no issues. Okay. Well, there you have it, guys. The Kizer Dogfish, highly recommended. Awesome design, great action. Can't really rave about this knife enough. If you made it to this point in the video, you know exactly where I land with this knife, and I just can't recommend it enough. So again, it is linked down below, right? If you want to check details. Of course, it does help out the channel if you end up buying a knife through those links, but that is entirely 100% up to you and absolutely zero extra cost. So of course, it will be highly appreciated if you do. With that being said, guys, go ahead and smash that like button if you haven't already. It really helps this video reach a larger audience. And go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. I promise you it'll be worth coming back for more. I make knife and EDC content like this on an ongoing basis, and you will not be disappointed. Last but not least, if you want to support the channel a step further, there is a link for Patreon down below, or you can simply support the channel right here on YouTube by becoming a member of the channel. You'll get access to exclusive perks, Check out the review on the Task and the Cryptid if you haven't already. I'm gonna put a card right here for you guys to check out those videos next. All of these are highly, highly recommendable knives. Can't recommend them enough. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.